with us on ESPN. There was actually an entire game last night in Cleveland, Browns and Steelers, an important game, one that was physical throughout the evening. You see it's 14-0 Cleveland, and that is Juju Smith-Schuster getting hit helmet to helmet.
Yeah, that's a vicious hit right there. This is how this game was all night long. It was very physical. You know, Juju got hit by 3 people at one time right there, and everything, this whole game was like this. But again, that's what we're talking about as far as it happening inside the white lines. Unfortunately, that's part of the game.
He would leave with a concussion. So would Deontay Johnson, who was going to get hit here on this play. This is another vicious one. He is hit on the play by Demarius Randall, who would be thrown out.
Look, again, you could tell that the Browns were trying to play a very physical style of game. Right there, you cannot lower your head and hit somebody right in the ear hole. And that is the very definition of an ear hole shot that used to be standard in the NFL. Not anymore.
And as you see, as he is leaving the field, you see Johnson has blood pouring from his ear. So it was already an ugly night. And again, the game had been completely decided by the time the really bad stuff happens. Part of that is because Mason Rudolph threw 4 interceptions on the night. 2 of them to that man, Joe Schobert, with one of his 2 picks there, setting up what would be the touchdown that puts it away. Again, we're in the 4th quarter here, 5.5 to play. This is a nice catch by Steven Carlson.
This is incredible, quite honestly, for Baker to keep the play alive and for Carlson to go up over the back of the defender right there. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Mark Barron looks at the last minute. He knows the ball is coming. You see his late reaction. That's one of those you got Moss type of plays that, unfortunately, we're not talking about.
No, because look at the bottom of your screen. You see there were 12 seconds, 11 seconds, 10 seconds. Forget about where the ball goes on this meaningless play and just look at where it came from. Again, it's Myles Garett ripping the helmet from the head of the quarterback Mason Rudolph and then hitting him with it, and then Rudolph getting thrown to the ground from behind by Larry Ogunjobi, and all sorts of mayhem breaking out. A night that will be remembered for a very long time for all the wrong reasons in the National Football League. And as Adam Schefter said, we can expect unprecedented reaction from the NFL, who we are told have already begun to gather in the offices in New York to begin sorting this out and figure out where it goes from here. That's the moment you're going to be seeing over and over again, and then the fallout that continues. In the end, it is the Browns who win the game 21-7, but that feels very much like a footnote at the end of a night the NFL is going to have to spend some time figuring out. Let's hear from some of the folks involved in this after it was over last night.
Should Garrett be done for the year for what he did?
Absolutely, 100%. We'll see how serious the NFL is about their players.
Do you expect anything to happen to you?
At this point, who cares? My man got hit in the head with a helmet. I mean, I'll accept whatever penalty it is.
I'm not a dirty player. I'm not trying to hurt nobody, but, I mean, I feel like if the shoe was on the other foot, I feel like they would do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I apologize to Mason. I'm not trying to hurt nobody. But at the same time, like, when somebody's on my teammate, it's my brother. I've been with him for 3 years. So ain't nothing personal. It's just, I'm not going to let you sit there and hit my guy, kick my guy. Like, that's just wrong.
I'm all about being competitive, but that'd be one of the stupidest things I ever saw.
Should he be suspended for this?
Yes, hands down. And I told those other players on the other side, y'all better handle that. I don't care who's out there. You know, we play this game, we all work for it. But for someone to use a helmet as a weapon is uncalled for.
Reaction flew in all night long from across the football world. There's J.J. Watt tweeting, "That is insanity. Wow." Here's Des Bryant tweeting last night, he's done for the rest of the year. Again, there are 6 games remaining on the Browns schedule this season. James Harrison, the former Steeler, tweeting, "That's assault at the least, 6 months in jail on the street. Now add the weapon, and that's at least a year," right? So that's some of the reaction that we saw last night. We should also point out, this is a player who has had some incidents on the field this season. Week 1, Myles Garett fined $10,000 for punching Delaney Walker in the face. He was not suspended as a result of that play. The very next week on Monday Night Football, Garrett was fined a total of $42,000 for 2 separate hits on Jets quarterback Trevor Siemian, the second of which resulted in a season-ending ankle injury to Siemian. And then, of course, last night, you've seen it, and you're going to continue to see it over and over today wherever you go. Our own Booger McFarland, who, of course, did that Monday night game for us and was watching last night, tweeted, "Myles Garett violated code amongst the fraternity. We compete against one another until the edge of destruction within the rules. Afterwards, we take our helmets off, shake hands, and wish each other well. We never intentionally try to hurt each other. He committed a crime and should be charged." I wanted to get a moment with Booger on the show today. So, Boog, thanks a million for jumping in here. But I just want to give you the floor here as people are waking up this morning. Maybe many didn't stay up late last night and see this. What is your reaction now with a few hours sleep to what happened last night?
Well, Greeny, first of all, good morning. It's very much what the tweet said. I think as football players, we go out and we try to play this game at a high level. It's a violent game. And when the game is over with, we shake hands, but never during the game do we intentionally try to hurt one another. When Myles Garett took the helmet off, he intentionally tried to hurt Mason Rudolph. This is the same Mason Rudolph that was knocked unconscious by Earl Thomas just a few weeks ago. Now, I know nothing happened, but his intent was to hurt Mason Rudolph. Now, imagine if something happened to Mason, the same guy that got knocked out a few weeks ago. And so to me, it was the intent. The moment you take that helmet and you use that helmet as a weapon, everything changes. It's no longer what we do between the white lines. It's no longer competition. It's no longer football. You've taken this to a different level. So I heard what Shefty talked about. This is, to me, a criminal act because it's about the intent. It's not about the result. And so I don't want anybody today to say, well, nothing happened to Mason. Mason is okay. This is the same guy that was knocked unconscious. And you hit him in the same head again. And to me, it's an act. If I'm Mason Rudolph, if I'm the Steelers, if I'm anybody in the Pittsburgh organization, the Rooney family, I'm not leaving Cleveland until we file charges. I don't care whether it's misdemeanor or whatever it is. I'm filing charges because the intent of Myles Garett when he took the helmet and he used it as a weapon was to hurt Mason Rudolph. And to me, that's when you cross the line from the sport that I love, from the sport that I played for 9 years to be a competitor. So you cross the line to doing something else. He violated the code, man. You ask anybody. That's why all the former players are up in arms, because we don't do that. We protect each other. We pray for each other when the game is over because we are husbands, we are sons. We have to go back to our families. And you took the helmet and you tried to hurt this man. I don't care what he did. I don't care what he said. I don't care what happened between the play. We as football players, we as a part of the 1,600 players in that fraternity every year, we don't do that. That's something we do not do. And I want to take it to another level. Everyone's saying, okay, well, let's blame Freddie Kitchens. I highly doubt Freddie Kitchens says, you know what, Myles Garett? Hey, go take his helmet off and hit Mason Rudolph. So let's stop blaming something. We always search for blame in America. Well, who are we going to point the finger to? Let's look at the bigger picture. It's a picture where Freddie Kitchens has lost control. Please give me a break. Okay, Freddie Kitchens is not telling anyone on his team to go out and commit penalties. Freddie Kitchens is not telling Myles Garett to grab the helmet and do that. So let's not blame anyone except the guy that did it. Okay, period. Let's not look anywhere else. This is a Myles Garett issue, not a Freddie Kitchens issue. I realize he is the head coach. And as the head coach, you have to take responsibility. But come on. Let's not point the blame anywhere except where it should go. And today, on November 15th, that stops with one person, and that's Myles Garett. And if I'm Mason Rudolph and I'm Mike Tomlin, if I'm the Rooney family, I filed charges last night before I got on the charter, Greeny.
There is precedent for that, for criminal charges being brought relative to things that happen on the fields of play in other sports. Booger, thanks a million for jumping in here this morning. We'll see you Monday night in Mexico City. Let me bring this to the table because there were so many different angles. While we saw, and again, I know I'm jumping back a few minutes, but Larry Ogunjobi is the player on the Browns who comes running up behind Mason Rudolph after the incident with the helmet. Rudolph is standing there facing in the opposite direction with no helmet on his head, and Ogunjobi is the one who comes running up and hits him from behind. And you heard him say there, well, you know, I'm coming in to defend my brother. And the reaction of all of the guys on this set. So here's the moment. That's Garrett. You're going to see Rudolph standing there, and that's Ogunjobi who comes running up behind him and takes him out. The reaction to that moment, I feel like, has been almost as strong as the reaction to the helmet incident itself. Lewis, why?
Because it's more cowardly than even what Myles Garett did, quite honestly. And I'll tell you what, he said he was coming to defend Myles. Well, Myles is on the ground getting stomped out by Mike Pouncey. So if you wanted to defend your brother who's getting beat up, then get down there and fight Mike Pouncey. Don't fight. Hey, Mason's just standing there looking. And you pushed him on the ground, and then you just stood there and looked at him while Myles was still on the ground. While Myles was still on the ground and had DeCastro and Mike Pouncey on top of him. Yeah. You weren't trying to defend him. You just took a shot at the quarterback. The whole let's take a shot at the quarterback any chance we get, which is BS. I mean,
get it. You throw an interception, you're taught, defenders are taught, go find the quarterback and hit him one more time. I understand that. And yeah, it sucks, but there's a lot of perks for being a quarterback too, so that's not the end of the world. But this was, I mean, it was just weak.
He hit
like,
a guy in the back.
Who are you
who wasn't
defending?
even looking at him without a helmet on. And it's a quarterback.
And Mason wasn't a threat.
Offensive lineman. He's not doing anything. And like you said,
he wasn't defending.
He stopped.
Yeah.
And then watched. Like, go
he
get in there.
He didn't want none of Mike Pouncey, what was going on down there. Otherwise, you would, or Marquise Pouncey.
Yeah.
That's where you should have went.
No, everything about it was soft. I couldn't stand it at all. If I'm the captain on the defense, I'm going to call him out afterwards about that because you don't. What is that? What kind of selfish play is that? I'm defending my brother. Stop with the BS, man. Whoever the captain is, they need to handle that internally.
This is going to be a complicated situation inside that locker room. There were so many Browns, and to their everlasting credit, I did not hear Freddie Kitchens or Baker Mayfield, and we played you the sound this morning, trying to explain around what happened. I didn't hear any equivocation. I didn't hear any making of excuses for their player. Everyone acknowledged that what happened last night was disgraceful. The question is, what will the fallout be? We have much more on this as we continue. Marcus Spears is going to jump in with us in just a few minutes and give his perspective on this. And again, we will have more on the actions of last night, what the reaction from the league could be, what it should be. Will there be anything further than that? Adam Schefter is standing by at the ready. We have complete coverage again of a night in the National Football